Hi everyone, Mike Smell here, Product Manager for SimStudio Tools. In this video, I'd like to talk to you about simplifying CAD geometry for simulation. And specifically, we're going to talk about using SimStudio Tools to help you deal with interferences. So here we are in SimStudio Tools with a very complex CAD assembly, one that might be far too complex for the traditional simulation analyses that we would want to conduct on it. We've done a number of videos with SimStudio Tools showing how we can replace complex bodies with simple primitives, how we can use the different selection tools inside of SimStudio Tools to help us remove small and unnecessary components from our geometry. And we've also talked about how we can use the Remove Features tool inside of SimStudio Tools to remove small cosmetic fillets and chamfers, to remove part numbers, any type of features that we would like to remove from the geometry. The last thing that we would probably think about when we talk about simplifying or preparing CAD geometry for simulation is dealing with interferences. And interferences are not terribly uncommon when we think about using a manufacturing level of detail model for simulation. Those models typically have things built in to represent press fits or snap fits, or potentially the threads are not modeled on fasteners, so there's potential overlap there based on the size and the nominal dimensions that would be required for the manufacturing process. But those characteristics could lend themselves to be troublesome or make simulation models more complex than need be. So in this video, we're going to talk about how we can use the interference tool inside of SimStudio Tools to help identify interferences as well as then deal with those interferences. If we come up to the toolbar to the Inspect panel, you'll find that we have an interference tool that we can use on our geometry. Now in this example, what we're going to do is simply box select the entire model, and we're going to tell it to compute all of the interferences for this geometry. And what SimStudio Tools is going to provide you is, one, a transparent view of the assembly, as well as a list of all of the interferences that it identified in your assembly. It will also give you information about the volume of those interferences, so you can understand if these are small things that potentially come from the modeling tolerances that you need to include for your manufacturing purposes, or potentially larger volumes that might indicate that the CAD model was put together in a manner that is incorrect, that may need to go back and be addressed. You'll also see that it tells you that it's going to remove material from a given component, and in what component it's going to preserve the material. So again, what SimStudio Tools is going to do for you is, rather than have that interference, it's going to do a Boolean operation where in that interfering region it will remove material from one component and it will leave it in the other, such that then they will have a very nice coincident face. So if we talk a little bit more about what you can do with this, is you'll notice we have a column that allows us to show and hide these specific interferences. We also have a button that makes it easy to simply click and show them all. And once we do that, you'll notice that on the model, we will give you a colored representation of not the two parts that are interfering, but the volume that actually represents that interference. So this will help us understand where these lie on the model, and it will also help us make the decision for which of the parts should we cut from and which should we preserve. Now, if you find that the component that we're cutting material from should actually be the component that we preserve, and we should cut from the opposite, we can simply click the double arrow button here to toggle which we cut from and which we preserve from. We also have the ability to activate the option to create bodies. And what this will do is, rather than deleting the interference volume from space, so we would remove model material in this case from the dip socket pin number 2, if we have the create bodies option turned on, what that's going to do for us is, for that interfering volume, it's going to create a new volume that's just that volume, and it's going to add it into the model browser so that you can then, if required for some reason, turn that back on, or take a more detailed look at that volume. Okay, so with this identification done, these rules in place for where we're going to cut, preserve, if all of these are interferences that you do want to correct, we can simply press OK, and SimStudio Tools will go through and execute all of the booleans required to address those interferences. So then if we were to come back, do another interference calculation, SimStudio Tools is going to tell us that no interferences are detected. So I hope that the interference tool in SimStudio Tools provides a lot of value and helps you clean up your simulation models. Thanks for watching this video, and we look forward to having you join us for other videos on SimStudio Tools.